In this video, we are looking at practice 25 on evaluating algebraic expressions and formulas. And the table of contents tells us that this starts on page 4. Also that we may use a calculator for this lesson. So let me turn over to page 4 and we'll take a look at number 1. If you have not watched the instructional video, I encourage you to do that before you start this process. In that video, we talked about a variable box and why I think that's important. So I'm going to follow that same process here. It says to evaluate the given expression when G is 4, K is 2, and B is 9. So those are the variable assignments, and then here is our expression. We have 5G plus 10 to the K power minus B. So we need to substitute. We need to go in here and put in our variables as directed. So remember, I told you to rewrite your problem, leaving spaces for your variables. G is worth 4. K is worth 2. And B is worth 9. So that is called substituting. I have substituted in my variable values. And then we need to evaluate the expression. So we are going to say 10 to the second power. That's 10 times 10, or 100. Going to add that to 4. So we get 104. Multiply it by 5. Have to follow the order of operations. Remember, you do have a calculator here. You can use it at any point that you want to. Some people just type that whole thing in there. I like to see the steps when I do these, but that's just a personal preference. So my final answer here is 511. So when I evaluate the expression, I get a value of 511. Number 2. Hector opens a basic savings account with $2,500. The account earns simple interest at an annual rate of 1.5%. How much money does Hector have in his account after 3 years? Use the formula. A equals P times 1 plus RT, where A is the final amount, P is the starting amount, R is the interest rate as a decimal, and T is the time in years. So let's set up a variable box for the variables in this problem. And we have an A, we have a capital P, we have an R, and we have a T. So those are coming directly from this yellow highlighted area from the formula that they gave to me. Okay, so let's go back through the problem. There is an annual rate of 1.5% as a decimal. Remember, if you're turning a percent to a decimal, you have to move the decimal 2 places to the left. So my rate is going to be 0.015. Time, T, is 3 years. So time is 3. P is the starting amount. They tell me right here. And that amount is 2,500. So here are the pieces of this formula. We just need to evaluate the formula. So we have A equals P 1 plus RT. So A equals, leave a space, and here we need to put in some parentheses to take care of the R and the T. And then we're going to substitute this value for each variable. So P is 2,500. R, there's no way I can fit that in there, so let me move this over a hair, is 0.015. And T, that's time, is 3. So here's how I would do it. You can put all of this into your calculator if you want to. It's depending on how proficient you are with your calculator. But here is the mathematical way to work this. The first thing I'm going to do is multiply these two. So I'm going to say 0.015 times 3, and that is 0.045, and I'm going to add that to 1. So I come up with 1.045, and then I'm going to multiply that by the 2,500 that just comes down here. So the amount that he will have is 2,500 times 1.045, and that amount is 2612.5. And I like D as my answer on this one. This is not an easy work page, guys. This practice page is tough. Number 3. Evaluate the given expression when your variables are defined this way. So you have D is 8, F is 6, and J is 2. And then here is the expression. I'm just going to leave my spaces as I go. D divided by 2 plus F minus J to the third power. So let's substitute. D is 8. F is 6. J is 2. So I just put these variables into that formula. Sorry, that expression. And then we need to evaluate the expression. You always want to do parentheses first. So we have 6 minus 2 is 4 to the third power. I'm going to go ahead and do this division. 8 divided by 2 is 4. Just to clean my problem up a little bit. 4 to the third power, that's 4 times 4 times 4. That's 64. And then 4 plus 64 is a grand total of 68. And I like option A for this one. Number 4. Evaluate the given expression for A is 26 and Z is 13. And again, I'm going to leave the spaces as I write this one. So I have a to the second power minus 5 times z plus a divided by z plus 42. A is 26, z is 13, a is 26, z is 13. And I'm very thankful for my calculator here. Alrighty, let's go ahead and do 26 times 26. 26 to the second power is 676. And then I'm going to clean up these parentheses. I have 13 plus 26 divided by 13 is 2. So that's going to be negative 5 times 15 plus 42. And I tell you what, I'm not going to work that as a negative. We'll just bring the subtraction sign down. So 5 times 15 is 75 plus 42. But don't forget out front we had that 676. I don't have enough room here. I'm sorry. I'm going to put this into my calculator. Just type it in. 676 minus 75 plus 42 is 643. So the answer is D. That is a serious problem there. Not easy at all. Okay, number 5. Evaluate the given expression for P is 3, L is 5, and M is 8. And the expression is 45 minus P times L plus M divided by 4. So 45 minus P times L plus M divided by 4. And here we need to do a little bit of math. We need to do our multiplying and dividing first. So 15. You can also type this directly into your calculator. The Casio does order of operations for you. If you need help doing that, please contact your instructor, and he or she can help you learn how to do those calculators. I also have the calculator tutorial that you can watch if you need it. So the answer to number 5 is B. Number 6. Evaluate the given expression for G is 10, H is 6, and J is 1. So I'm going to set up my variable box with the values that I'm given. G is 10, H is 6, and J is 1. And then using the formula or the expression, this time it's an expression that they gave me, I'm going to put all of these together. So I'm going to go through again and leave out the variables. So wherever there are variables, I'm just going to leave a space. And then very carefully I'll substitute those variables. G is 10, H is 6, and J is 1. So you substitute those the values in for the variables. And then we follow the order of operations. So we have 10 minus 6 is 4. So we're left with 4 plus 4 squared divided by 8 plus 1. Next thing is exponents. 4 times 4 is 16. And it's very tempting to start adding right there, but you do not do that. You have to divide before you can add. 4 plus 2 plus 1 is going to be 7. So this expression evaluates down to 7. Remember that memory piece that we made in the lesson. You have to follow that order of operations. Number 7. A rancher makes a pasture for his cattle. He has 300 yards of fencing available and wants the pasture to measure 90 yards long and 75 yards wide. Does the rancher have enough fencing? I am going to show you how to do the formula, but first I want to walk you through a common sense approach to this one. So we want to set up our variables of P, L, and W. Length is 90, width is 75. So if you sketch yourself a diagram of this pasture, let me try that again. I've had way too much caffeine this morning. So the length is 90 and the width is 75. So you would have 90 here and 75 here. Now if you want to put a fence around that pasture, you need to add those dimensions. So the perimeter is going to be the two 90s plus the two 75s. And we do have a calculator available here. So use that to add those four numbers and you will get 330 yards. That's what he needs. The perimeter is 330 yards. He only has 300 yards. So does he have enough fencing? No. He does not, because the perimeter is 330 yards. And you can absolutely solve this problem using that addition. Let me show you how to do it with the formula, because they do want us to practice our formula. So we have P equals 2 times L plus W. So P perimeter is 2 times 90 plus 75. So parenthesis first. 90 plus 75 on your calculator is 165. Then multiply that by 2, and guess what you get? Perimeter is 330. So you can do this problem either way. They specifically told us though to use the formula, so I'm following the directions, but the answer will come to you either way. Number 8. Brandy purchases a new house. The property measures 250 feet long by 175 feet wide. What is the perimeter of Brandy's property? So the first thing I want is my variable box with P, L, and W in there. I am going to sketch the picture just because I like to do that. You don't have to. That is 250 by 175. So the formula is P equals 2 of length plus width. So P equals 2 of the 250s plus the 175. So P equals 2 of that sum. That's 425. And you hear me using the calculator, even though I believe I know what it is. Don't take a chance on missing it. So your length was 250, your width was 175, and the perimeter is 850. So the perimeter of Brandy's property is 850 feet. Formulas are your best friends if you know how to use them, because they're sort of the recipe that will get you to the answer. You won't make mistakes as much if you follow the formulas. Number 9. Sergio wants to build a dog run that has a perimeter of 130 meters. Which two sets of values for length and width will result in a perimeter of 130 meters? Now, I'm not going to draw a variable box this time because I would have to draw 6 of them. The variables are changing in every choice, so I'm not going to do that. I am going to set up my formula right out here. So perimeter is 2 times 25 plus 15. So do 25 plus 15, that's 40, times 2, perimeter is 80. We are trying to get 130. I'm going to change colors so I can keep these straight. In this one, perimeter is 2 times 50 plus 40. 50 plus 40 is 90, and 90 times 2 is 180. So that's not one of them. Perimeter is 2 times 50 plus 25. 50 plus 25 is 75, and 75 times 2 is 150. Perimeter is 2 times 40 plus 25. 40 plus 25 is 65, times 2 is 130. So this is one of them. And then I have P equals 2 times 50 plus 15. 50 plus 15 is 65, times 2 is 130. I like that one. And then P is 2 times 40 plus 15. That's 2 times 55 is 110. So the two answers that we're looking for are D and E. Alrighty, number 10. Which two expressions are equal when, so this is a defined set of variables, A is 2 and B is 3. So we have a lot of math to do here. We are looking for two expressions that are the same. So we have 4 2 plus 3 to the second power. 2 plus 3 is 5. 5 to the second power is 25. And 4 times 25 is 100. So the value of this first expression is 100. Then I have 4, b plus 1 to the a power. So I have 4, and actually to save space, guys, let me go ahead and substitute b plus 1 to the a power. So we have 4 to the second power, and that's 16. 4 times 16 is 64. So those two are not equal. Here is C. I have B, 3 plus 2 to the second power. So we have 5 to the second power. That's 25. And then you multiply by 3 to get 75. So far, nothing is equal. 1 times 2 plus 2 to the third power. 2 2's are 4. 4 to the third power. On your calculator, that's 4 times 4 times 4 is 64 times 1, and that is 64. So I do have a match. Let me go ahead and do E and F. Here's A, B, C, D. Here's E. We have 2 times 3 plus 2 to the second power. 3 plus 2 is 5 to the second power is 25 times 2 is 50. And finally, F, we have 2 times 2 plus 1 to the third power. So there is no B in this problem, and that's okay. You can have any combination of variables. So 3 to the third, that's 3 times 3 times 3 is 27. And then 2 times 27 is 54. So the two that are equal are right here. Those would be B and D. That is a lot of work, but you'll get there. If you plod on through, you will get to your answer. Number 11. A raisin carton in the shape of a cylinder, and while I'm thinking about it, let me draw a cylinder for you, or try to. I'm not an artist. But a cylinder has a circular top and bottom. So something sort of like that. Oh, that's not a very good one. I tell you what, let's make that bottom squared off. It has a radius, so that is this dimension right there, of 5 centimeters. A height of 15 centimeters. What is the surface area of the raisin carton? And surface area would be this, if you wanted to put, say, like a wrapper, a label around what would be the area of the carton that you would need to cover. So area covers. And they give us a very scary looking formula. Don't worry, we're okay here. And they also tell me that pi is 3.14. Now you may have never seen pi before. Pi is a Greek letter. It's spelled P-I. So P-I, pi, is this Greek symbol. And it is approximately, well, let me give you the fraction. It is exactly 22/7 in fraction form, or about 3.14. So if you've never seen pi, I'm not going to get into that a lot today, but at least to know what that is a good idea. So they've given me the variables right here. And we need to draw, or we don't have to, but I'm recommending that we draw a variable box, because this one has quite a few. We have surface area, we have radius, we have height, and what are we missing? We have the Greek letter pi. So we're going to take a look at this formula. Again, I know this formula looks scary, but please hang with me here. We'll be okay. Surface area is 2 times pi times radius times height, plus 2 times pi times r to the second power. So there are a lot of variables in this formula, but you know what to do here. You know how to substitute. So I'm going to leave a pocket for pi, for r, and for h. And in this one, I'm going to leave a pocket for pi and a pocket for r. And then we just need to go through and fill those in. Pi is 3.14. Radius is 5 and height is 15. Pi is 3.14 and radius is 5. So I have substituted the values in there. And then we need to follow the order of operations. So there's a lot of multiplying, but we need to do this exponent first. 5 to the second power, that's 5 times 5, is 25. So get that out of the way first. And then go ahead and multiply all of this on your calculator. So we're going to say all clear. 2 times 3.14 times 5 times 15 equals, that is 471. And then on this one, we're going to say all clear. 2 times 3.14 times 25, and that is 157. And then go ahead and add those together, and you're going to get your surface area of 628 square centimeters. Area units are always in terms of square units. If it's square feet, square miles, whatever your unit is, it's square if you're doing area. So the answer here is D, 628 square centimeters. Number 12. We are going to evaluate the given expression for, again, they've defined variables, so let's do the same. C is 11 and V is 13. So the expression is another long one. It's 8 plus C minus 3 V times 2. And I just went ahead and substituted while I'm writing it. I normally don't do that. I'll normally copy the formula, but I'm a little limited on space here. So 13 times 2 is 26. And remember, that's in a pocket with that 3. And then you have 8 plus 11. And then multiplying before adding or subtracting. So 3 times 26 is 78. And then you can add and subtract to finish this. I would put this one in my calculator, guys, and I'll show you why. So all clear. 8 plus 11 minus 78 equals negative 59. So this one has a negative answer. Just be careful with that. Sometimes those negative numbers can be a little tricky. But if you just put that into your calculator exactly the way it's written right here, you'll be just fine. I'm not going to get into the negative numbers in this lesson because we have a lot already on our plates. But if you have questions on that one or any of these, remember to contact your instructor, and you can always get more help with those. Number 13. Evaluate the given expression for. Here are the variable definitions. We have D is 7 and T is 16. And the formula looks scary, but it's not. It will be okay. So we have 25 minus D times T plus 4.9 T to the second power over D. Okay, now don't get excited. This is just a series of numbers. They look a little peculiar, but it's okay. Don't let these things get you rattled. A lot of students just panic when they see these, but there's no need to. The first thing we need to do, there are no parentheses, so we're going to do exponents. So 16 times 16. Do that on your calculator to get 256. So the first step is to get rid of that exponent. And then we're going to multiply 4.9 times 256. And this is another thing that makes this one a little hard. These numbers are pretty large. It's one thing if you're dealing with ones and twos, but when you get into 1254.4, that is a little bit more of a challenge. So I did 16 to the second power, and then I multiplied that number by 4.9. The next thing we're going to do is take this number and divide it by 7. So while it's on your calculator screen, just hit divide 7. And you come up with, in place of this big mess, we come up with, whoa, I didn't mean to go that far, 179.2. And then the rest of this I am just going to copy down, just the way it looks. Then multiplication. 16 times 7 is 112. Copy. This is a pretty advanced problem. And once you get it down to adding and subtracting, type it in your calculator. All clear. 25 subtract 112 add. Let me start over. I'm getting myself confused. All clear. 25 minus 112 plus 179.2 equals. You can even do it a couple of times if you're not sure. There's the answer I want. D. Number 13 is D. 92 2/10. Question number 14. This is one of my favorite questions in this whole book. This question is this type of question is very common in science books and on science tests. It is common in a lot of math problems as well. It's really a physics question. It's the branch of science that deals with motion and energy. This question is about projectile motion. A cannonball is fired straight up with a velocity of 55 feet per second. What is the height of the cannonball in feet after 3 seconds? Use the formula for projectile motion, which is this very common formula in science, where h is height, t is the time in seconds, and v is velocity in feet per second. Now you might be thinking, okay, if it's traveling 55 feet per second and after 3 seconds, why can't I just multiply those two numbers and get the height? Because you think about this in common sense terms. If you fire a cannonball straight up into the air, as soon as that cannonball leaves the barrel of the cannon, gravity begins to have its effect on the cannonball. So the cannonball has to fly straight upwards into the face of gravity. Gravity is pulling it back down to earth. So this is not just a simple multiplication problem. That's why you need this formula for projectile motion. Some other cases or questions that I've seen this with, sometimes they talk about hitting a golf ball off a tee. They could talk about throwing a baseball. If you picture the arc of a baseball, it goes up for a distance and then it starts back down. It follows this motion. This is called a parabola, and as you get into more advanced algebra, you'll learn about parabolas. So we're talking about a certain kind of motion here. All right, let's define our variables. We have y, we have v, and we have t. Now we know that v stands for velocity, and they told us that velocity is 55 feet per second. T stands for time, and we know that we're measuring this track after 3 seconds. So what in the world is y? Okay. This is where math gets a little bit confusing. I honestly do not know why they used a y there. I'm almost thinking that it's a misprint. I think that this should have been an h. I think it was just an accident here. But I don't know that, because you can interchange variables at will. You can use a y when you mean h. There is no rule about what you have to use. But I am going to say, for our purposes, because I really think this was a misprint, I want you to cross out this y, and out here let's put an h. Because whatever you call it, the value that we're going to find is the height of this cannonball. And I like h because it is height. So I'm not sure about this one, but we're going to use the letter h instead of the y. So the height is velocity times time. Now there's that multiplying of that is where most people will stop if they've not seen these before, because common sense says you multiply the velocity, or loosely translated, the speed, times the time it's in the air, and you'll know how high it is. But this is where we factor in gravity. It's minus 16 times 3 to the second power. This last term here is the effect of gravity on the cannonball. So the height is going to be determined when we finish this math. First thing is, of course, the exponent. 3 times 3 is 9. And then we can copy. I strongly encourage you to copy. 16 times 9 on my calculator is 144. And then let's go ahead and get this 55 times 3 because that is also multiplying. 165 minus 144. So the height of the cannonball is actually 21 feet because we're dealing with feet per second. I'm sorry, I feel like I'm going to sneeze. Okay, so 21 feet is the height of the cannonball at 3 seconds. Because gravity is impacting that cannonball. If you didn't have gravity, the height would be 165 because there's nothing to force the ball back down. But gravity's working against you, keeping that height closer to the ground. Okay, number 15. Evaluate the given expression for they define the variables. That's very important. Whatever they define those variables to be are the values that we need to use. So we have P is 7, Q is 10, and R is 3. And you see again why I like the box for variables, because it keeps everything separated for me. Alright, so here we go. We have 21 divided by 7 plus 10 times 8 minus 3. Parentheses first. 8 minus 3 is 5. And I'm keeping the parentheses because those are multiplying 10 by 5. Then we have to do divide. There are no exponents, so we do divide and multiply all in one sweep. There's a 3 and there's a 50. And finally, adding and subtracting, the addition leaves me with 53. So A is the answer to number 15. Number 16. Ronald paints 7 identical cubes for an art project. The side length of each cube is 2 feet. What is the surface area that Ronald paints? Use the formula surface area equals 6 times side squared. So first of all, let me draw you a picture of what Ronald is painting. Let me try, that is. If I can get a square, there we go. Pretend that's perfectly square. And I need another one because I am building a 3-dimensional shape. And then you connect, I need that to be straight, connect those vertices, the corners. So you have a cube that is 2 feet on every single side. That's what makes a cube, that perfect dimension. And he has 7 of these. Now this is important. It's not just one of them. He has 7 that are identical. So the surface area is this, if he were painting this cube, how much area is he going to paint? So here is the formula. We have, and I tell you what, let me take some of those 2's away because I don't want to overwhelm your brain here, or my brain. So here's a cube, each side is 2. That is my variable box. I'm not going to draw a box just to put s equals 2 in there. So here we go. Well, actually I am, because it's not just s and the 2. We also have the surface area when s is 2. So here comes the formula. Surface area is 6 times 2 to the second power. So 2 to the second power, that's 2 times 2 is 4. And then 4 times 6 is 24. So the surface area is 24 square feet. Now be careful. We do not want A, because this variable box is for 1 cube. We need to take the 24 times 7, because he has to paint 7 of these to get 168 square feet. They want to know the surface area of 7 of the cubes. Okay. I like that question. That's a geometry question. Number 17. Evaluate the given expression for... I tell you, my drawing today is horrible. I can't even get it to make a rectangle. There we go. A is 6, B is 4, C is 7. And the expression is A divided by 3 all times 4 minus 2 times 7. So this is not an easy one to do. This looks kind of scary. But we know that we have to do parentheses first. So I'm going to focus right here. And I'll tell you what, because this one is so complicated looking, let's just highlight what we're doing. This is the first step. So I have 4 minus 14. Not finished yet. Put that in your calculator and you'll get a negative 10. So this yellow part comes down to be a negative 10. Then you bring down your 6 over 3. Now if you have the Casio calculator, you can go ahead and just put that in as a fraction if you want. But I'm going to do this just in case you may not have that particular calculator. So what is 6 divided by 3? That's 2. And 2 times negative 10, use your calculator, is negative 20. So when you work all that mess out, negative 20 is the final simplified form. Use the calculator however you want to. Number 18. This is the last one here. Joanna has a cube-shaped treasure chest with a side length of 1/3 foot. What is the volume of the treasure chest? Use the formula V equals S to the 3rd power. So again, I'm going to sketch the treasure chest. If it's a cube, it's made of squares, perfect, even squares. It's the only way you can make a cube. They have to be perfect, and mine clearly are not, so we're pretending here. But so here's the treasure chest. that has a side that is 1/3 of a foot. 1/3 of a foot, that's 12 divided by 3, that's 4 inches if you put it in terms of inches. But we don't have to do that. All right. The next thing is to write the variables. I think that's a very good plan. So we have side is 1/3, and we are looking for the volume. So here's the formula. V volume equals 1/3 to the 3rd power. Now, for those of you using the Casio, I am going to show you the calculator buttons down here in just a second. I will. But here's how to do this longhand. What this means is 1/3 times 1/3 times 1/3. 1 times 1 times 1 is 1. 3 times 3 times 3 is 27. So the volume of this cube is 1/27 cubic feet. The answer is A. Now, if you have the Casio calculator, this is the only one I am sure of. Here are the buttons to do this on the calculator. If you have a different calculator, you can bring that to your instructor and he or she can help you figure those out. So I'm not sure how many of these I need, but these are the calculator steps. All clear. 1, ABC 3, so there's your fraction 1/3. We are going to raise that to a power. The XY button, I call it, that's the exponent key, is above the clear, all clear. If you look at clear and all clear, you will see that button right up there. That is the exponent key. That's to raise to a power. And our exponent in this case is a 3. So I need 2 of these. So 3 goes here, and then of course equals. So let me type this in and be sure I have it exactly right. All clear, 1 ABC 3, exponent 3 equals, oh, you get a decimal. Wow. So that really would not help you that much. Let's see, let me try one thing, guys. I'm kind of learning here. I rarely use the calculator for these, so I apologize. I should know this. Okay, this one is going to give you a decimal, so this may not be the best route to go. I would recommend working this longhand. I'm sure there is a way to do this on the calculator. I just don't know what it is. So if you need a fraction, you want to work it this way, and it'll work every time. Just multiply all the top, 1 times 1 times 1, and then all the bottom, 3 times 3 times 3. This has been a tough lesson. There are some really advanced skills in here, some really good problems. I've enjoyed this one, but it is definitely not easy. If you have questions, please do not hesitate to reach out to your teacher, your instructor, and he or she will be happy to help you with this material. In the next lesson, we will be looking at expressions again, so we'll continue not substituting but working with them still. So I'll see you in the next video. I hope you have a really good day. Bye-bye.